Would you look at that?
What is that? I've never seen that before.
That's new to the channel.
On today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to take a look at a new offering from Blackstar Amplification. But before we get into what we're going to talk about, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, click on the notification bell. Your interaction with us helps us interact with great people in the industry, and in this case, Blackstar Amplification. It came via our connection with Billy from Zzounds. He made this happen for us. So we're real happy to have first day video on this. It is the Amped 3. It's a 100-watt amp, 3-channel amp, and I want to just read this real quick. It's from Department 10. A division, an R&D division of Blackstar, because there's a lot of features in this particular thing. I got excited at first. I thought it was like a box of Converse shoes because I'm a shoe guy, but it's not. It is a really cool 3-channel 100-watt amp.
Right. So jumping right into this one, because there's a lot going on here, even which I feel like this video is kind of stripped down a little bit because there's a lot of features we're not going to dive into. But even with just the features we have, I feel like there's a lot going on here. So first off the bat, on the back of the amp, and maybe we can put a picture up here, maybe not. But on the back of the amp, you have a lot of options, right? So you have a headphone out, of course. Great. You have a speaker cab out. Actually, the headphone out's part of the speaker cab out. You have the ability to run out to extension speakers. You can run out to an amp. You have an input. You have an effects loop. I mean, you have everything you're going to want.
2 9-volt power.
2 9-volt power supplies, up to 500 milliamps total, I think.
Yeah.
You have everything you could ever want on the back of this thing. So we took advantage of that. We are not running it into an amp like we would typically do with any pedal we got, because this is an amp. You have that ability. We're just not doing it.
Right.
So what we did is we ran out of the extension out. We, I think the 8 ohm extension out into a PV112 closed back cabinet, mic'd. And then ran directly out over into the Focusrite onto the computer. So we have a direct in and a mic cabinet. And so the way we've set this up as we go through the 3 channels, you're going to hear part of the riff on just the cabinet, part of the riff on just the direct out, and then both at the same time.
So looking at it, because it is an amplifier, it has many of the things you would expect to see on an amp. It has a gain, volume, presence, and a master across the top. A couple of things we're going to get to later. And across the bottom, bass, middle, treble, and an ISF, which is the infinite shape feature. To the left, you're here in the good old USA, probably all the way on the west coast of California in Fender land. And on the far right, you are over in England, where the Marshalls things reside, and also where Blackstar resides. So it's a really cool feature, and you can go anywhere in between. Stop on the Atlantic Ocean anywhere you prefer.
Right. So first clip, let's just jump into this. The clean, we both explored each channel. Clean channel. I'm going to go first. I had this Fender American Strat going into the clean channel, set it to, and so now we have some other things we can pick. There's a spot where you can pick your tubes. So I picked 6L6s because, you know, I'm a Fender guy. Right. And then I picked a 100-watt amp. So you can go, what, 520 or 100 watts?
Or you can go 120.
120,
100. Yeah.
100. I picked 100. I don't know what the one's for. I'm sorry, Blackstar. It's just, you know, it's cool that you included it. I picked the 100-watt 6L6s. Went on the bright channel, so clean can go between warm and bright. I went on the bright channel, ISF, landed right in the middle of the ocean, somewhere between Fender and it just sounded good. It just sounded good there. There's another push button on here. Push that in to turn on the reverb. Set the reverb to dark, rolled it up just a tad. And that clean tone sounded like this.
All right, staying with single coils, for my first clean offering, I went with the PRS Silver Sky SE. I kept it at 100 watts. I switched the tubes to EL84s. I was on the warm side of the clean channel, and I went all the way to England with the ISF and went all the way to the right, and I played something like this.
So next up is the crunch side. Not territory I'm super familiar with, right? So let's not just go with crunch. There's that little switch at the bottom. We flipped it over to super crunch. So I'm gonna be on the super crunch here with the PRS DGT. Switch those tubes from 6L6s to EL34s. And remember, I landed in the middle of the ocean. I just kind of drifted a little bit to across the pond there. So we're about 1 o'clock on the ISF with that. Reverb's still in the dark setting. I mean, we found a kind of a spot in the reverb. We liked it and left it. Yeah. And that sounds something like this.
So staying on channel 2, I also use the Super Crunch part. I have the Sterling, the Ernie Ball Sterling Cutlass that is on loan from Zzounds. I went to EL84s, and I started to come back towards the US. So I was all the way in England, and I had the knob at about 230, and I played this.
All right, so leaving the Super Crunch channel, heading over to the Overdrive channel, I picked OD1, switched the tubes to the EL84s. Still on the 100 watt. I think up until this point, everything has been 100 watt. And I don't remember where the TSF is, but you'll be able to see the knob on the screen. And, you know, I grabbed a Les Paul and played this.
All right, for this, I flipped over to OD2, and I actually also engaged the boosts, and I engaged it pre, as the two were pre and post. I also went with EL84s, and I stayed with this style guitar. I was trying to find home base, and I've played a lot of PB Classics, and they are EL84s, and they are 30 watts, so I went to the 20 watts, but then I juiced it a little bit, like I said, with the boosts, and I played this. So as I said, I was trying to stay with home base, which is kind of why we did the 4-cable method for the delay. I love delays in the loop, and in this case, we used the DLS Echo Tour. And from my clean clip to the end, I used it the whole time. It was used at all of the clips. It's great. It's a great delay. Just check it out.
Right. So in addition to running things in the loop like the Echo Tour, one of the questions for me in something like this, well, how's this going to sound if I throw some of the effects pedals that I like in front of it and say, you've talked about maybe using it with a guy you play with when you do like acoustic shows straight into a Bose speaker system or something like that. So how those effects pedals would sound in front? Well, we've just happened to do some series on different effects. And so let's try it out. So our first series that we ever did was it was called That Leslie Sound. It was on rotary speakers. We happen to have a few really good ones left over. So I grabbed the micro vent from Neo, threw it in front of a nice clean tone, and this is what it sounded like. So the second series we dove into on our channel was Tremolo. And in this case, decided to use the Keeley Hydra for both Tremolo and Reverb. And on that clip, I played the Yamaha Revstar, that is also another guitar that is on loan from Zzounds. And I tried to switch pickups a little bit here. I started, I think, in the neck, and I went back to position 2, and I played this. Our third series number 3, was the Shakedown Sound series, all about envelope filters. We tried a bunch of great envelope filters. The most recent one we did was, I'm trying to think of whether it will be released when this video comes out, maybe not, but was the Spatial delivery from Earthquaker Devices. Every time we did a, this is like sparkly. It caught my eye. It was like squirrel. Yeah, it was shiny. For that series, we used the Michael Dolan custom guitar a lot. Cool guitar. And that sounds like this. So for the fourth series on the channel, we did It's Electra, and it was based on the Electra circuit. In this case, and we went to Earthquaker Devices again and used the special cranker to push the clean side into overdrive. And I played this Les Paul Classic that was gone over and really souped up by David Barber from Barber Electronics. And I played this. that's the Blackstar Amped 3. Very cool. So we always take a minute, just give some final thoughts.
Yeah, at first, a little intimidated. The box came a couple weeks ago, probably. Opened the box again. I thought it was shoes. I got very excited. But when I realized it wasn't shoes, I'm like, wow, this is a 3-channel amp that can be used in a variety of applications. And at first, a little intimidating. But then when you break it down, it really is intuitive. And it has a lot of features and a lot of applications you can use it for. You know, we play together at our church. Maybe we throw it there and run one line out to the sound. We run one line to our amp. I do play out with somebody else sometimes, looking to take something small and simple, and really interested to see, you know, maybe what the editing software can do, like you said, about maybe saving some presets and tweaking some things. I think it's great. We're real happy to have gotten this in. So thanks to Blackstar and Billy for making that happen. We don't get to do too many day of releases, and so we're real happy to be doing that with this.
Right. So a follow-up video for this certainly could be when we get our hands on the software, coming back and looking at how that changes things up. There's a lot of untapped. I mean, just that little speaker simulation button on the back, right? Like that switch. You have 3. We only use 1. There's a lot of untapped resources here. I got to edit between when we first started recording this and now. I did get to edit the clean channel and the crunch channel. And one thing I'll say, like on the clean channel, when I was editing on the computer, I was like, wow, the amp, the mic cabinet, and what was going into the computer sounded pretty similar. If memory serves. Don't call me on that if you think they don't. But I thought, you know, they both sounded really good. They sounded really similar. I thought when we got to the drive stuff, then things changed a little bit. Like, you could see where maybe changing that I thought they diverged a lot.
Right.
Like, now the direct in signal doesn't sound a lot like what's coming out of the mic cabinet. Now, of course, who knows what we were on that. I mean, maybe we were doing like a 412 cabinet or you know, whatever. So there's a lot to explore there. So I'm gonna leave it at that. There's a lot to follow up with. If there's things that you'd like to see us follow up on, you have specific questions, throw those down in the comments below. Beyond that, you know, we always just take a moment to say, hey, thanks for watching. We really appreciate that. Anytime you hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, hit notifications or like button or whatever, any of that stuff, anytime you interact with the show, like Pat said in the beginning, that's what makes these relationships happen and allows us to get cool gear in to share with you. So we really appreciate that. And with that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.